I would like to welcome everyone to today's Sage HRMS Solutions webinar. Before I introduce today's presenter, I would like to go through a few housekeeping items. Because of the number of attendees that we have on today's webinar, everyone's phones will stay on mute. If you have any questions during the webinar, please enter them into the questions window that you see on the lower right of your screen. We'll try to answer everyone's questions at the end of the webinar. If we're unable to get to your question, we'll follow up with you individually after the webinar. Today's webinar is being recorded. As soon as the recording is available, we will post it on our website and our YouTube channel, and I'll send a message around to let everyone know when the presentation and the recording of the webinar is available to be downloaded. On that note, I would like to introduce Ronaldo Camara, Senior Field Sales Engineer for Sage HRMS Employment Solutions. And on that note, I'm going to hand it over to Ronaldo to walk us through and give us an overview of the Sage HRMS suite. Take it away, Ronaldo.
Thank you, Tom. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Thank you. Loud and clear.
Very good. And welcome, everyone. So what we had in mind today was to tell you a little bit about the Sage Employer Solutions and what we do, and of course, first give you an overview of some of the tools available for your business. The way we'd like to organize this information is by showing you what the employee experience could be like, of course, maybe a manager or supervisor, and then get into the administrative areas where we can keep records of the employees, generate reports, process payroll, and so on. As we go along, if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat area there, or if you want to save those towards the end, we can also answer your questions at the end. When we look at any organization, doesn't matter what they do, what makes those organizations are their people. Their people, of course, are going to make the difference for that organization, and how we manage them is going to make a big difference. As a matter of fact, when we look and do research, we're going to find that there is a direct correlation to the end result of your business. Meaning, and thinking about, you start thinking about investing in your employees, and when you invest in your employees, it's not just a matter of investing in them, it's also, you're also investing into your business. And we call that the return on employee investment. Anywhere you look at it, anywhere you try to perform research or you're going to find that on the average, for every dollar you're investing in your employees, your business will receive, of course, a $10 return. That's the average you're going to find out there. When we find organizations that have disengaged employees, it's been estimated that the cost of that is about $350 billion per year in the United States because of loss of productivity, accidents, theft, and turnover. So it again, shows a big cost to many organizations out there. SHRM, the Society for Human Resources, estimates that for an organization to replace an employee, the average cost for an $8 an hour per hour employee is about $3,500, and it keeps going up as, of course, the wage goes up. So investing in the employees, again, in the employee engagement, is going to increase that workforce retention, and therefore, of course, decrease your turnover. Now that we know what the cost of that turnover could be. So when you have an employee that's motivated, an employee that's willing to stay with the company, and they feel comfortable and well respected and fairly compensated, they see also, and if they see also possibilities for growth and personal development, they're most likely to stay. They're most likely to be more engaged. How do we engage those employees? Well, we want to engage them by providing them the information that they need to perform their jobs. So maybe analytical tools could be invaluable for a supervisor, for a manager, to make educated and informed decisions. that communication between and within the organization, between employees, between departments, can also be enhanced. And of course, this will engage your employees more. And of course, the work environment. Employees want to be self-sufficient. They want to be able to access the information so they can do their jobs more efficiently. And these are some of the ways that we can use to engage your employees within your organization. So basically, it comes down to people management. When we think of HR, sometimes we tend to stay with the administrative area of it. It's not all that the human resources organization does. They really need to manage their people. And the Employer Solutions division of Sage, and that's what we do. We provide tools for the entire life cycle of the management of the people within your organization. Anywhere from recruiting all the way to retirement, we have tools that can help organizations achieve or complete that. So there's so many choices out there. What I'd like to do today is show you why the Sage HRMS could be the best choice for your organization. What we have is, and like I mentioned before, a core database with all of your employee records that can be shared with different components for the entire life cycle of the employee, anywhere from recruiting and onboarding to processing payroll to benefits to retirement, turning your HR organization into a more of a paperless environment, managing time and attendance, generating the reports and the information that you need for compliance, and also manage your talent, trying to get the right people into the right positions at the right time. That is, of course, is going to minimize the cost and help with the turnover. So many tools out there that we provide as Sage Employer Solutions for all these areas. Some of the let me come back to this. What I'm going to do here is find us a computer that we can all see. So if you give me 1 second, I'm going to go ahead and let's try this guy. So you should be looking here at a green desktop, and what I'm going to do here is launch a browser. And this could be any browser. This could be a mobile device. This could be a tablet. Anything that supports a browser will allow employees, managers, supervisors access to the employee self-service and the manager self-service. Here, the organization will have the ability to customize this page with their culture, their logos, the graphics. And there, of course, employees can go in and set up their accounts and, of course, manage their accounts. If they lose their password, they don't need to be calling you. And then the organization has control over what information do they want to put out here for the employees and for the managers. And I'll be glad to show you a couple of examples. Let's say you would like to have your employees go in there and look at their profile and maybe when needed allow them to request changes to their profile. I have this page right now set up so that it goes through an approval process, meaning that the employee makes a change here, but it will not update that core database with the employee records until that request is approved. And that's one of many ways that we can set up the pages or the information out here. It could be the case where you may want employees to maybe maintain certain information. So you allow the employees to go in there and maintain the information. As soon as they click on that save button, in this example, it updates that database immediately. I am sending out a notification when this happens so that the immediate supervisor gets a notification that the employee made a change. And that's, again, another way of setting up these different pages. So a lot of information that you have that you may want the employees to have access to maintain, information that you may want to collect but going through an approval process, even the ability to display for your employees their time off balances, how much time they have accrued up to their last pay period, how much time they have available, how much time they have requested. But not only that, you can allow them to see their absence transactions, when they took time off or when they requested time off, for as many plans as needed. Or even allow the employees to go in here and request time off. So the employee would go in and maybe request certain dates and certain number of hours. And then, of course, the employee can also submit a note with that request. I know it might be a bit cold to go fishing these days, but it could be a note related to that request. Once they submit the request, of course, we have this particular request set up for an approval process. So the manager, the supervisor, they'll receive a request and via an email, and also they will receive a message in their message center that the employee requested time off, very similar to what you see here. And that email, of course, has a link that takes the manager to the self-service where they can go in and take a look at a time off calendar and see where other employees have requested time off, or even access the employee record to see their balances and see, well, this employee keeps taking every Friday off. So maybe they'll see a pattern there. Once the request is approved, then the employee gets an email message, and they'll also get a message in their message center stating that their time off has been approved. And then, of course, the request for time off, the records will show that their time was approved. And at the end of the pay period, we'll be updating these records so that the employee has the latest and greatest balances on their time off. Not only for time off, but it could be the case where we may want to display for the employees their pay history, along with copies of their check stubs or direct deposits. That way they can access these 24/7. They can email these, they can print these, they can save these as many times as they need without having to wait for somebody or without having to submit an email or a request for previous copies of their check stubs. And of course, we can control how far back in time we'd like to display the history. And like this, we could display different forms, we could display for the employees what benefits they participate in. Excuse me. Here we can display for them what their coverages are for each one of the plans, what their deductions are, and even display the employer contribution. It's an option that can be turned on or off. Also, if we want to display maybe the employee's compensation and history of changes in compensation within the organization, again, the organization has control over what information they want to display out here via the employee self-service and also to the managers and supervisors. So if a manager or a supervisor needs to go in and take a look at the employee's training history to make sure they took their courses or that they're certified, we can definitely allow them access to that information. Maybe I'm looking for an employee that has a certain certification. I can instantly find that via the employee self-service. And I can also deliver reports via a reports menu and via a view builder that once the individual opens that report, they only see the data they need to have access to. And not only can we display tons of information coming from the HRMS, but also anything else you'd like to display for them or allow them access through the self-service. It could be the case where you may need them to have access to a certain web page or a different portal, or maybe even launch another application where they can go in and maybe a time and attendance application where they can go in and punch in and out, or maybe fill out a timesheet. And my favorite, of course, is the ability to automate any paper form that you have out there in your organization. And it's a very simple process. If I am maybe a supervisor or a manager and I need to fill out a form for an existing employee, all I need to do is select the form and select the employee, and then this will be your forms listed here, and maybe this supervisor needs to request a change in pay for an employee, for example. So they'll submit the form. It comes back with that employee's information, with the supervisor's information, and now they can proceed to add a document if they want to attach a document to that form. And these are going to be your electronic forms. All the fields that you see here are coming from the HRMS, so all we're asking is the supervisor or the manager to fill in the blanks or to make changes to those areas they want to make changes to. And then, of course, the approval process at the end. We can also set up conditional fields where if the supervisor requests maybe an increase of more than 5%, then we need to add another approval step. Automatically, we could add another approval step. And then once the form goes through the approval process, then the new data will be changed in the core HRMS, in the core database, and of course create a historical record. But not only a manager or a supervisor could be generating these forms or filling out these forms. It could be the case where we may want employees also to have access to certain forms. So the employees will see a list of forms they're supposed to have access to, and then they'll select the form and have the ability, of course, to submit the form. It comes back with their information, and then they can proceed to fill out the blanks, attach a document, add notes, and then, of course, the form will go through the approval process. The problem I have with paper forms is that you never know where they are. So the employee could be saying that they fill the form, the supervisor could say, well, they never got it, or they lost it, or they can't find it. With electronic forms, you always know where they are at any time. So I can go in there and see what forms are active right now going through the approval process. And I see here a change in pay that was requested, and I see it sitting there with the manager. Apparently the manager hasn't filled it out, hasn't completed the form. I see one here for an accident. It looks like it was approved by Veronica Bell, and then it was approved by Shirley as well. So this one's pretty much done, and at any time I can go in there and access the form and maybe help that manager by looking at the form and say, oh, you didn't do this, or you need to do that. Then, of course, every form we have an audit trail with the signatures, dates, time, and timestamps. So this is something that's very difficult to accomplish with paper forms. At any time, also, I can go in and access the history on forms that have been completed. So at any time, if something comes back to me, an audit, a request, to find out if the employee signed a handbook acknowledgement, for example, I can go in there and take a look and say, yep, here it is. This is when they signed it. Here's the date, here's the time, here are the approvers. So at any time, you can go back in and audit those forms. And of course, you can create your own forms. You're not limited to any of the examples that I'm showing you here today. So again, helping your organization, helping your employees, helping your supervisors and your managers become more efficient. Also in the recruiting area, we could set up a career center where applicants could come in and perform searches. And this will be your logos, your banners, your messaging, but here the applicant will have the ability, of course, to go in and perform a search, and we can set up with the different areas or the different drop-downs that we want the applicants to perform searches on. And they'll see the open positions. They can go in and take a look at any of these, review the responsibilities, the qualifications, the requirements, and then have the ability to refer somebody else for this position or even apply for this position. So they'll have the ability to go in and upload a resume, or they'll have the ability to not upload a resume and go immediately into an electronic application, where they can go in and fill in the blanks. Of course, if they upload the resume, then most of these fields will be parsed from the resume into these fields. It'll be just a matter for them to fill out the blanks. And like this, we can set up specific questions for a position. We can set up questions that we may want to ask every applicant. And as we, again, as we receive applications, let me close a few of this window so I don't confuse myself. At any time, I can go in there and access where am I? And take a look at my activities, which applicants have applied for what positions. So I can go in there and take a look at my inbox, for example, and see all my new applicants that applied today. Or I could easily from my home page go in and look and take a look at my activities. I can create and manage requisitions. And I can also track my applicants, perform applicant searches. Really easy. It's just a matter of setting up your criteria. So I could be searching in the resumes. Maybe I need, let's see what we have here. Maybe I need a controller that has some accounting experience. How's that? And I can set up the whole criteria for the search. So it's going to search through the resumes, and at any time I can open any of the resumes and see where my criteria fits in the resumes of the applicants. Not only can I perform text searches on the resume, I can also perform database searches on the applicants. So I could go in there and perform a search for specific skills just by going in and selecting the skill set that I'm looking for. Or I could go in there and build search engines. So I could go in there and build my own cyber searches. This is great for turnover for specific skill sets. I can build my own searches and then run those anytime I want. And as I perform searches, of course, I'll be getting a list of applicants. And of course, at any time I can go in there and let's see if I have one that I have not hired. Here's one. So here's George, and at any time I'll just hover over and I will be able to see the resume. And of course I can assign different requisitions to the applicants. I can route that applicant and say, let me route this applicant to maybe a manager or a supervisor. So I can go in there and select the managers and supervisors I want to route this applicant to, and maybe at the same time change their status, that now that I have routed this applicant to a hiring manager. And we're going to tie them, and the drop down here will show the requisitions that the applicant is tied to. Just don't have any there, but I can also generate emails and request response through email from those managers that I'm routing this applicant to. And then of course, everything is going to be through emails, through smart emails. So the manager will receive an email with George's information, resume, and from the email they'll have the ability to say, okay, I want to interview this applicant, or doesn't have enough experience. So they can select what they want, what the next step is going to be with this applicant. And then of course, once they submit or respond via email stating that they want to interview that applicant, then we can go in and set up the interview. So they're going to be here to interview the following managers or interviewers, and I can set up the dates, the times, tie them to a requisition. And then of course, in the process, I'm going to change their status. Now that I have scheduled their interview, I want to email the hiring manager, the recruiter, email all the interviewers, and maybe even email the applicant with the invitation. I can also attach documents and also set up evaluation questions for the interviewers, and they'll be responding this again on a smart email without having to even having a need to go into the application. Once I get the response and the decision from the hiring managers and the interviewers, and I'll have the ability to generate an offer letter or an offer email to that candidate. And it's just a matter of filling out the blanks, attaching any documents, and then push it through the approval process for the offer. And of course, once the candidate accepts the offer and replies, we'll have the ability to take that candidate information and hire that candidate into the HRMS. So all the data that we have on George can we now be brought in into the HR database. Again, moving you away from transponding or entering data, filling out forms and printing forms. You'll see that the information that we have on George will be going into the different fields. If George answered questions to volunteer questions and answer their EO questions, they'll be here. And of course, tied to the requisition, we'll have the information on the job, on the salary, on the supervisor. And all this information we are going to bring it into the HRMS. So again, it allows us to take our recruiting online and of course generate all kinds of reports. All your applicant reports can be generated there, and all your requisition reports, even different types of analysis that can be generated. Let's try one of these guys. So here I'm looking to find out how long it's taking for each one of the positions to get filled. It looks like this administrative assistant position is taking 1,077 days. And I can do this by recruiter, I can do this by requisition, and of course generate all your affirmative action reports. Not only that, but I can also connect to different, let me cancel this. I can connect to different job boards. So my requisitions, once they get posted into the Career Center, can also be posted into different career or job boards. And also, of course, the ability to customize all your different web pages or career centers, all your different correspondence templates. Very easy to do. There are sets of standard templates that come with the product, but you can at any time create your own as well. So your offer letters, your requests for interviews, automated thanks but no thanks, automated thanks for applying, we'll take it into consideration, we'll review your, you can definitely modify and create your own templates. And of course, any documents that you want available that later on you want to be able to attach to any of these templates, you can also upload them here so that they're available. So again,
I just wanted to give you the heads up. We're halfway through. I think you're doing fine on time, but I just wanted to remind you we're at the top of the hour.
Thank you, Tom. So again, eliminating a lot of the paper, a lot of the phone calls, a lot of the even screening through the application. Going back to the employee self-service, there's sort of one area I wanted to touch base, and that's on the benefits enrollment. So a component that can be added to the self-service is the ability to have employees go online and go through a benefits enrollment process. Outside of the benefit enrollment process, they'll be able to request changes via different life events that can be set up here. So I could have the employees go in there and make a request or start a request for changes. And what they'll do is they'll fill in the fields, they'll take a look at their current enrollment, and then they'll proceed to go through the different plans or groups of plans where they can make their elections, they can enroll their dependents, assign beneficiaries to the different benefits where required, and like this they'll move on through the different plan groups. What I like about this is that I can catch missing information from the employee before they turn or before they submit that enrollment. So let me go back here for a second, see if I can break this. Well, let's say that I don't want anything here. Just want to find one with multiples. See if we can break this. Go on. So here, I'm not going to waive on my medical coverage, but I'm not going to elect one. What would happen if I try to continue? So I get a message here, say, well, I have to pick one. I have to make an election, or I have to waive the plan. So I'm forcing the employee to fill in the blanks. The same if I would select dependents and then not select the dependents. With paper forms and enrollment paper forms, I would have to send those forms back to the employees so they can make their elections or waive the plan or enroll their dependents. Here I can also keep track of my open enrollment and see where my employees are in the open enrollment. At any time, I can go in as a benefits administrator role and take a look and see where my employees are. Excuse me. So I could go in there and run a quick query and say, show me all those employees, maybe by last name, and see where they are in the enrollment process. So I'll see here a lot of them have not started. I see one here that has started, and I can see what they have elected so far. And of course, this may be a good time to communicate to the employees, so I may want to send out an enrollment notification saying, you know, there's only 5 days left. So make sure you participate. And of course, we have the tools then to communicate and transmit this information to your benefit carriers for enrollment and enrollment changes. And of course, a tool which we call my Workforce Analyzer, which will analyze your data and your benefits. And then, of course, give you information so that you can make educated decisions on your benefit plans and also generate those forms that you'll need at the end of the year, 1095C and the other 1095, which I can't remember the name, but these are going to be required starting this year. So it's an end-to-end benefit management solution, anywhere from collecting and gathering enrollment information all the way to transmitting the data to the carriers and generating reports and letters and so on. Let's get into that area. So what I'm going to do here is get into the administrative area. So this is no longer where the employees would go in. This is more of the back office area. Tons of information on that welcome page as far as user guides, training opportunities on the product, access to support. You can send us feedback on the product, and also what's new with the product. We're always telling you there. These tasks on the upper left-hand corner, they save us a lot of time. Whether I'm hiring a new employee or terminating an employee, these tasks will pull together the pages that I need to go through in an orderly manner so that I can, again, save some time on navigation, save some time on having all the information. If we were to take a short example here, let's say we have a promotion. So all I need to do is find the employee, and I can find employees by name, by status, or I can open additional field and say, well, I'm looking for an employee that's in the maybe HR department. And it narrows down the list to that particular department or criteria that I set up here. I could be looking for employees by supervisor, by job title. And then once I find the employee, let's how about Mary here? Let's give Mary a promotion. So the system tells me that these are the pages that I should go through in order to complete that business process. And I can choose to complete the page now, or I can schedule it for later completion, or even for another user. Once I click OK, the first page opens, and I can make changes to the employee's unit pay rate or annual pay. All I need to do is change one of them. All the other ones will recalculate based on the number of units within the pay frequency. Of course, with the electronic form, I wouldn't have to do any of this because all the information that I need is on the form, and it will go in here once I approve the process. I could also make changes based on an amount or based on a percentage. So if I change this employee's compensation, I increase it by 5%. As soon as I jump into the next field, it recalculates all the others. I can also set up salary grade ranges and allow the system to notify me when I go outside of that range. Now, it would make a lot of sense because this is a promotion. So this is okay now. I can also track the employees and tie employees to different shifts or shift premiums, and of course track their performance review, ratings, dates, and also make sure I enter an effective date for this change and select the reason from the list. This is going to build those historical records. There are going to be also groups of user-defined fields that I can, of course, label to track other information. And once I click continue, I can save my changes, and then, of course, I can create that historical record. And it takes me right into the next page where I can make changes to the employee's job title or job code, whether they're now salaried, hourly, full-time, part-time. But the effective date and the reason came over as part of that transaction. I can now place the employee maybe into a different department or a different location. These are going to be your organizational levels. And maybe even assign a different supervisor or even additional secondary jobs. Once I click continue, it saves all the changes, it creates the historical records, and now it jumps right into what benefits are going to change because of the employee's change in compensation. And all I need to do is enter an effective date and the reason for each benefit that is tied to compensation. So I don't have to go back to a different spreadsheet. I don't have to go into a different area to make the now changes on the employee benefits. It is all tied together. And I didn't have to spend time navigating or finding an employee and finding the pages to where to make the changes. Even when I'm rehiring an employee, I'll see here my terminated employees, and I select the employee. Now these are the pages I should go through and update data. Again, this will be without the electronic forms. With the electronic forms, the data gets updated on the form, it goes through the approval process, and it now updates the employee records. You find an employee here that's not terminated. But you saw a lot of the data that we can track for the employees. All the demographics, address, phone numbers, all their EEO information, even add pictures to the employee records. We can also track their hiring dates, rehire dates. The system will calculate the seniority and, of course, track any employment eligibility, I-9, what documents are supporting that I-9, when do they expire. We can also track military information and veterans information, and again, sets of user-defined fields that we can label to track other information. If this employee had been terminated, we'll see a termination record with date and type of termination, the reason for the termination. We can also track leave of absences. And if you have an FMLA plan, this will be great to track those as well, because I can track when the employee requested it, when they returned, number of hours they were away. If it was an FMLA event, we can also track any medical certifications and recertifications. And also any other type of events that you may want to track. There's a page with a due date here that is very helpful for tracking anything like certifications and memberships and licenses, anything where you need a due date. We can also add and track notes for the, didn't mean to do that. We can also track and add notes to the employee record. So I can go in there and have maybe groups of different types of notes that I may want to add to the employee record, and then paste or type the note. Or if I have an electronic document for the employee, maybe the employee attachment page is a better page to attach anything like a Word document, an Excel spreadsheet, a sound file, video file, a picture file, any type of electronic document I can attach to the employee record. We saw the emergency contacts through the self-service. We saw where we made changes to the employee's pay and the employee's job. But what I wanted to show you here are the historical records. These are the records that are going to be built as we make changes. And of course, at any time, I can go in and access any of these records and see, okay, well, what's the employee's job title at that time? Were they full-time, part-time, salaried, hourly? Who was the supervisor at the time? What department were they working in? What was the performance like at that time? Did they get a bonus? And again, the set of user-defined fields. So at any time, I can go in and access those historical records and also generate reports on these. We saw earlier we can track all the employees' benefits, not only their current benefits, but also any history on those. So any expired benefits, we can track and keep those and go back as many years as we need to. We can set up plans so that it will definitely do a lot of the calculations for us. So if I open a plan here, for example, I could have a plan do calculations for coverage.
Sorry about that.
Is that you, Christine? Can you put your phone on mute?
Yes.
Or Tom?
That must be Christine. That's not me.
Tom, can you hear me, Tom?
I can. Can you hear me, Ronaldo?
Yes. Can you put your phone on mute, please?
That was not my phone. I was on mute.
Maybe
Christine.
Okay. All right. So we can have those benefit plans do a lot of the calculations for us, and then we can transmit those enrollment, like I said earlier, to the different carriers. We can track covered what dependents are covered, what beneficiaries have been assigned.
Okay.
Not only for benefits, but also any type of savings plans, pension plans, 401ks, 403b7s, and again, allow the plans to do a lot of the calculations for us, even if there's an employer match. We saw we can track the dependents and the beneficiaries. Also any wellness information, chronic conditions for emergencies, physicals, drug testings. And then we get into the time off area where we can track all the absence transactions. Every time the employee requested time off, every time the employee took time off, and the summaries for each one of those plans. So this will display the same balances that the employee or the supervisor is looking at through the employee self-service. There's also a payroll component that will allow us to process payroll. And this, of course, it will be tied with your records, with your employee records, and all we need to track and maintain here are, of course, all of the employees' earnings, deductions, taxes, and direct deposit information. And of course, as we process payroll, then we're generating the historical files for payroll. Year-to-date, month-to-date, quarter-to-date amounts, and of course, check history. There's also an area for safety where we can track any accidents, any incidents. And this will help us generate all the OSHA logs and OSHA reports. I can track a lot of details on an accident or an incident, times when the employee started working, time when the accident happened, where was the employee at the time, what task was the employee involved in when the accident happened, what body parts were injured, what medical treatment was given to the employee, and of course the workers' comp claims information. And this, of course, will, again, help me generate those OSHA logs, those OSHA reports. I can also track and maintain employee skills, education, and previous employment records. Not only that, but I can also create my own custom pages. Right, it's a very simple process. It's just a matter of getting to an area where you have the ability to create your own page. I'm just not very creative, so I'm going to call this one new page. How's that? Or you can label it anything you want. And there's a blank, brand new page. It's just a matter of adding whatever you want. You could add information existing from the database, or you can create your own field. So I'm going to create a new field here. Maybe I want to track if I don't know, if I issue keys to the employee. Real simple. So I can label my field and select the type of field that I want to create on that new page. Not only can I create the fields and the pages, but I can also design reports along these, using these fields and this information. And then very easy to access. It's just a matter of accessing the employee custom pages back to the employee records. Just a matter of going into the custom pages and opening the custom page. Now, I've mentioned a couple of times reports. So let's take a look at some of the reporting tools available with the Sage HRMS. There's about 140 some standard reports right out of the box, and very easy to use. So I can go in there and generate a simple employee list. It just takes me seconds to do that. Or I could say, well, I really don't need a whole list. I just need one department. So I can go in there and say, oh, wait, I just need a list for this department. Now I have a report.
Yes, thank you very much. Have a good day.
For that specific department.
I'm sorry about that.
Or maybe an entire employee profile if I need to generate one. We don't want to talk about the age list, that's depressing, but we'll move into the compensation report, salary analysis, reviews that are due, salary history. These are all, again, all standard reports. Turnover statistics. All your EEO reports are part of this group. Your bed reports, promotion reports, I-9 verification, they're all in this group of standard reports. Some employee and organization reports with anniversary list, new hire logs, telephone directories are in this group. Then you have a group of leave reports, which employees are out on leave, which ones are due to return, which ones need medical recertification, accident analysis, OSHA logs, workers' comp claims reports. Those are all in this group. Then you have a group of benefit reports. So if you ever need to, I mentioned earlier, maybe a letter to your employees stating these are the benefits in which you participate in. And this is what percentage on top of your compensation those benefits are. And I can generate this for each one of the employees that I select on the criteria. Or maybe you need some type of report to maybe reconcile a billing from your insurance company, maybe an enrollment by plan. And you can go in there and select the plan. Or simply just run the report with all the plans. Or maybe put in a date range. And then you'll see the plan name and then which employees are enrolled, their coverages, their premiums. All the tools you need to manage COBRA are in there. You can generate certificates of coverage. Then you have a group of skills and education reports, licenses, memberships. All your wellness reports, drug testings, physicals, they're all going to be here. Then you have a group of time off reports with absence, percentages, averages, year-to-date amounts, history. And of course, all your different payroll reports, general ledger reports, and all your different government reports, state, federal. Let's see if we find some, these are all different states for state taxes. What's a good one? Ohio. There you go. All your different tax forms for a state. Not only all these standard reports, but there are also other tools that come with the HRMS for reporting purposes. There is an analysis tool that will help you generate analysis. Maybe you need a turnover analysis or a salary analysis, and you may have multiple companies, and you'll have multiple companies listed there. Or maybe you need to drill into the organization and say, well, I'd like to see this maybe by department. And now you look at the data, you can see the data and analyze it by department. Or maybe you need a specific department. Or maybe what we need to do here is show the details and push it out to a report. We can definitely do that with this analysis tool. And there's also a query tool that will allow you to generate and create your own reports without having to spend too much time on the layout. So you just click on the new button, you select the fields that you need, you organize the fields in the way you like to see those columns, and you're pretty much done, because the rest of the steps are optional for grouping, for sorting, and so on. And then it's just a matter of deciding what to do with the information. You can go in there and export it to an Excel spreadsheet, to a database file, to a Word document. You can attach it to an email. So different options for the outputs for any of these queries that you design or build. Well, we're doing on time, Tom. I think we have a few minutes, and there's a let me get in a couple more statements here.
We've got about 7 minutes left.
Okay.
We've got a couple of questions, so we'll want to leave some time for that.
Okay. So, and the last, of course, reporting tool is the Crystal Report Writer. So as you can see here, I'm not spending too much time on the layout, on the formatting, on linking tables. It's just plain data. So that's what that query will allow you to do. I am grouping by department, I think. That's why I'll see 1 page per department. But it also comes with a full-blown Crystal Report Writer. Let me exit this here. And the Crystal Report Writer will allow me to open any of those reports. And now I have the ability to customize any of those reports. So I could go in there and open that letter I was showing you earlier and go in there and, well, I don't like this opening statement. I want to change it. Or I don't need to show something here, and I can remove it or add it. Maybe the closing statement, I want to add something else. So you can customize and generate your own reports and save them and run them as many times as you need. So what I'm going to do here is turn this over to Tom for any questions.
Okay, if you could just go back to the slide presentation real quick, and before we get into the Q&A, just wanted to put in a plug for next month's webinar. I'd like to invite everybody to join us and another new partner of ours, Avalara, to learn how Avalara's cloud-based returns excise filing service can help you meet all of your EDI excise tax filing needs. This webinar is going to be we try to keep them to the second Thursday of every month, so it's going to be Thursday, February 12th. It's going to be at the same usual time, 11:30 Pacific, 2:30 Eastern. Now, when I send out the follow-up to let you know that the recording for this webinar is available, I'll also include the information for you to link in to sign up for that webinar. So on that note, we can go to the Q&A. Got one question that has come in here from one of our consultants, Denise Austin. Denise deals with most of our customers regarding payroll and that type of thing, and Denise is asking, does HRMS use Atrix for the W-2 and other governmental printing/filing?
Right. So Atrix supplies us with the latest tax forms and government forms. We do not design those. We're not experts, and we don't want to keep or invest resources on staying up with every form for every state. So we contract with Atrix. So Atrix supplies us with all the state forms, all the federal forms. That is correct.
Okay, great. And then Denise has another question. She's asking what version is the Crystal report writer that's being used with the system?
Yeah, I think they're up to about 12 or so, but you can use any version of Crystal, all the way from 8 all the way up to whatever they are now. I think what I was showing was version 12, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, great, Denise. So it's excellent. Ronaldo, this question hasn't come in from anybody that's attending this webinar, but our salespeople have had this question asked of them repeatedly. We have a number of customers that have been using the Sage payroll module for the legacy Providex database. And a lot of our customers are moving into the framework world and upgrading to version 2013 and going with the SQL database option there. And the one issue that we're running into is, of course, the old legacy Sage payroll module is not compatible with that version. That's really one of the main motivators for us to become a Sage HRMS business partner. So the question I have for you is, can they get a down and dirty sort of payroll-only module to replace the legacy module without having to go with the full suite?
Yes, they definitely can do that. We have the ability to take just the payroll and install the payroll only and allow them to process payroll with the Sage HRMS payroll, not necessarily having all of the HR stuff that I was showing you today or the self-service or the electronic form, just the HR component that will allow them to calculate and to process payroll and print checks and so on.
Okay, because that solves an immediate need of ours, and that's just something I want to make sure the audience is well aware of, that you can start with the payroll module and then kind of expand into the full suite.
Yep.
Okay, another question is there a GL link provided to record the GL entries?
Correct, and I didn't have too much time to get into the payroll and too much details into the payroll, but what we're going to see is that every earning code, every tax, every deduction code, they will all be tied to your general ledger via your account numbers and account segments. So that when an employee gets paid for regular time, it is going to reflect, and we are going to group that data for that segment or that account. And then at the end of the payroll process, we are going to generate a file that can be imported into your general ledger with all the labor costs and the liabilities.
Okay, excellent. All right, we're right at half past the hour, so we've run out of time here. So I just wanted to remind everybody that today's webinar has been recorded. Once the recording is available, I'll post it along with a copy of today's presentation on our website and on our YouTube channel, and I'll send a message around to let everybody know when they're available to be downloaded and viewed. If you can think of any questions after the webinar or would like to find out more about Sage HRMS, please feel free to contact us at sales@dm2.com. I want to thank Ronaldo for doing an excellent job of giving us a very good overview of the HRMS suite and everything that it has to offer and all the benefits there. So thank you, Ronaldo. And I would like to, you're quite welcome. I would like to thank everyone for attending today's Sage HRMS Solutions webinar. Thank you very much.